All right, we are on time. Good morning, good afternoon, good good evening, based on wherever you are joining from. Thank you very much for joining this webinar with NSEIT. My name is Shekhar Dongde. I'm the Senior Vice President for NSEIT based out of San Francisco Bay Area, and I look after our North American business. So uh, Today's conversation is all about simplifying your application portfolio and the approach that we take on application portfolio rationalization. So let me quickly go with some of the uh, housekeeping aspects for today's webinar. The webinar is going to be recorded and you will be sent a copy of this webinar. So anyone who would not like to be recorded on this webinar, this is your time if you want to exit, and we'll certainly make sure you receive a copy of this recording. There will be a Q&A session. You can send your questions through the Q&A tab on your Teams window, and or raise your hand in case you want to ask in between, and we will certainly take it as time permits. We will also try to answer as many questions as possible, but in case we run out of time, certainly reach out to you on your registered email ID, and we'll certainly continue that conversation. As part of the webinar, you will see some of the polls that we will be introducing in between, and I certainly looking forward to your responses to those polls. And I'm promising you that it will be fun to respond to some of these polls. So definitely looking forward to your creative responses there. Going to the next slide, let me introduce you today with the speakers. I have Devesh Ranjan and Hiren Bhatt joining on this conversation. Devesh Ranjan is a vice president who leads our digital practice, a thought leader, and a significant experience in the overall enterprise IT landscape. Devesh brings a good combination of the experience, the domain experience, and also the thought leadership in terms of how do you infuse the emerging technologies, emerging landscape into rationalizing the application portfolio that you must be carrying. So I'm pretty positive you are going to enjoy this conversation and some of the perspectives from Devesh. Meet Hiren Bhatt. Hiren is also Vice President leading our digital practice. A very hands-on, coming from significant delivery experience, and a lot of insights that he brings in are purely from his significant experience in this area. And I'm sure you will enjoy some of the perspectives that Hiren will also talk about today. As just a quick introduction to NSEIT, uh, we are a 100% subsidiary of National Stock Exchange of India, which is our third largest stock exchange by volume in the world. And we have been in the business for 20 plus years, certainly being a significant amount of domain experience in the capital markets, banking, and financial services. And today we are expanding our reach as a pure play IT services company to our financial services and other customers. As part of the digital transformation journey and bringing our domain experience, what we are doing differently is we have tied up with all the hyperscalers, whether it is Microsoft, Amazon, and Google, including in the data analytics space with Snowflake and Databricks, and bringing the best of breed solutions to our customers, and helping the journey to the cloud during this process. We have had an opportunity to work with some of the top 22 of Fortune 500 and 5 of Fortune 50 companies. So we are blessed with different experiences and customers that we had an opportunity to work with. And certainly, I'm positive you will enjoy this conversation. Going, what is our overall services portfolio? I'll just kind of bucket it into 4 key buckets. We deliver digital transformation in applications. We work in digital engineering. We work in application build out, application development, application migration, including product engineering. Data modernization is another core area for us. And similarly, setting up the cloud infrastructure, managing the cloud infrastructure, optimizing the cloud infrastructure. That is where we have an inorganic growth at NSEIT with an acquisition of a company, Cloud Exchange. And today, on top of it, it is very important for our customers that we take a holistic view from a security compliance a perspective. And that is where we have an arm for cybersecurity, where we manage end-to-end information risk management services. And that too also we grew through an acquisition of Azure Cybersecurity. So that's the kind of portfolio that we offer today to our customers. With that, I'm going to leave the control with Devesh. Over to you, Devesh.
Sure. Thanks, Shikhar. So a very warm welcome to everyone. Um, uh, a pretty interesting topic, application portfolio rationalization. But why is it unnecessary right now? And I typically go back to this famous quotation from Bill Gates. uh, Change is inevitable, and we are in the era of digital disruption. What we need to understand very critically is how businesses have evolved over a period of time and how they are adopting these new technological changes, new trends which are coming up. Ma, See, historical practices are pretty good in terms of helping us understand which are the pitfalls to avoid. But if we need to have an edge over our competitors, that's where keeping at pace with all the technological changes, embracing them is something that we cannot survive without. And what exactly does application rationalization help us with? There are multitudes of benefits that we get out of app portfolio rationalization, whether it is in terms of reduction of the operational expenses, optimizing the TCO, getting better visibility in terms of the application landscape that we have, or making them more efficient, simplifying the maintenance efforts, bringing agility to our entire stack. Ultimately, every CXOs are today kind of pressurized to do more with less. And that's where application portfolio rationalization plays a very critical role. Yes, Swati, please, if we can move to the next one. So what is the need? What are the typical challenges that any organization is facing? It's the number of applications that any operations team has to manage. See, even in a mid-level to a large level company, it could be from any industry, there would be several hundreds of applications. And for a very large organization, it could range to over a thousands or multiple thousands of applications. What happens is these technologies have been implemented over a period of time, depending on the business requirement, what was the business need at a particular time. And basis that, sorry everyone for this interruption. So what I was mentioning is across these multitude of applications, they are all having, there is a variety of applications with different technology stack and different architectural styles. What happens is managing and maintaining them as based on this varied nature of application becomes really difficult. And it is one of the key factors is the kind of money that we are spending from our annual budget in maintaining these applications, or from an operational support perspective, it accounts for nearly 15 to 20% of any organization's budget. That is a significant amount of money. So we need to be pretty sure that we make optimal use of it.
Yeah, Devesh, and I think I completely agree with you. Um, also from the business point of view, if we look at it, that it becomes very critical that the business wants new product features to be added, new promotions have to be constantly brought into consideration, right? Business so a lot of business related business related areas have to be managed, and then I think the regulations part also have to be also added. So I think it's very important that has to be a consistent and continuous um, updation of all the applications, not only one application but across the organization. Everything has to be constantly changed, and that's why application, I would say, rationalization is inevitable, I would say.
That's true, Hiren. Thanks for adding that point. And ultimately, it is the challenge in terms of the complexity that it is trying to address. And these complexities are of different nature. I mean, it could be related to monitoring management, the number of applications, which even the organization doesn't have visibility to, typically what we term as the shadow IT applications. Or maybe over a period of time, what are the technical debts, the business challenges that we are facing, the increase in maintenance costs, or security related issues due to the non-uniform architecture, performance scalability concerns. These are all the challenges that do occur over a period of time. And that's what we are trying to address by leveraging application portfolio rationalization. One of the most critical things is once your application becomes maybe it is a bit outdated, it has a very big negative customer experience. It leads to a very negative customer experience that ultimately hampers the business growth. And that's what none of the organization would be interested to occur. Kiran, you had some points from business perspective to be added over here.
Yeah, I mean, so there are a lot of internal. So if you look at it from the application point of view, it is not only the internal changes and the departments which they keep on asking for more changes based on the vision and the mission of the overall of the organization. But there are a lot of external factors also which are impacting, like government laws might change. There would be in fact, the technology movement also happens, and that also has to be incorporated. So there are many internal, external factors as well as regulatory factors which also, keep on coming up. So that has to be considered. That's why the need is there for this. Yeah.
And the impact of this kind of these challenges are pretty significant, whether it is in terms of the time spent in operational support of these applications, the kind of efforts that we are putting in, or the ultimately the cost that we are investing over there. Managing these complex applications and the kind of time, effort, and cost that we are spending over there, probably it can be much more optimized, and we can use these for a better cause like growth and innovation. Just a sample study or a comparison which we took from the industry leading figures. If we go after if we opt for application rationalization, typically it leads to significant decrease in the cost that we are spending in on the application portfolio maintenance, which means that we can increase the cost that can be allocated for innovations, even including the cost of APR. You would still end up with a significant saving vis-a-vis compared to your previous budget. So that is what I think should be one of the key driving factors or the adoption factors for most of the organizations. So how do we address this? What is the solution which is required? NSEIT has its application modernization tool, and this consists of three key things. We have customized the application rationalization framework, which is the industry leading framework, CISR, which typically any organization does. But what are the additional value adds that we have brought in over and above that? The recommendation in terms of what are the treatments that you should be opting for, and how you should be sequencing or prioritizing them to come out with a very valid roadmap. So we provide you with a step-by-step advice in terms of how you should be going after your application portfolio rationalization, and building a realistic and accurate roadmap that ultimately drives the business value. And it is not just based on theoretical study. This is the secret sauce that we have been leveraging over past multiple iterations, and the success that we see on utilizing this app rationalization tool has is pretty immense. Most of the organizations wherever we have undertaken this assessment have gone for cost savings nearly to the tune of 25 to 45 percentage. That talks about the numbers.
And I would also I would also say that NSEIT. So there will be there are so many thousands of organizations which are currently working, means IT, even the IT service providers who are completely focusing on going ahead with they're running after the technology, and they want to all have the latest and greatest of the stuff, but they miss out on the on the business needs, business focus, business outcomes, and the vision of the organization at the same time. So that's where NSEIT is, we it's a differentiator wherein we tie up the overall business, business points, as well as we ensure that the outcomes are according to the technology which is required, are are collaborated with the various stakeholders, and we get the right output is where where we come into.
Yeah, I truly agree. And Hiren, you would see on the next slide, we are just kind of harping upon the same. So ultimately, how do we carry out this entire assessment? It is a completely data-driven insight generation that we do. And there are critical inputs that we seek from our clients or this, different stakeholders, whether it is related to the application inventory itself, which needs to be rationalized. What is the business vision of an organization? That is a very critical factor. What are the functional inputs? What are the technical inputs, which ultimately leads to the futuristic requirements from a functional standpoint or the technical depths. And at the same time, we also add to the inputs related to what is the cost, the total cost of ownership, the cost which is being spent from a maintenance perspective, and the current changes which are envisaged within these applications, or the kind of support requirement in terms of the ticket volumes that we see corresponding to these applications. Ultimately, with all of these different data points, we assign a varied set of weightages or rankings, which is based on the business inputs, how they are, how much critical these applications are, what kind of scalability or performance concerns or what gaps are there, and how much priority should be assigned to the same, and in terms of any kind of risks or the cost perspective. So ultimately, with all these customized weightages, we come out with a completely tailor-made roadmap and recommendation for our clients. And this roadmap, I would say, consists of some very key important factors. The first being the standard 6R approach. So how do we rehost, replatform, refactor, or retain it? But then what we also do is each of your application is mapped to the industry reference business architecture. Now, what that helps us understand is from a business standpoint, are there multiple applications which are there, which are probably working or which are in existence, addressing the same business or functional requirement? Is there an application redundancy? Number two, from a technology perspective. So, from a technology standpoint, we consider all the latest technology trends which are there. What is the underlying tech stack that an organization has? Does it match with the latest trends? What are the product versions? Are they outdated? Is that something which is near the end of support? All those factors are again considered to come out with the technology inputs in terms of the technology heat map. Now, we also understand that there could be different organizations who might want to benefit from this exercise. And each organization has a different maturity curve in terms of how they are maintaining this entire application repository or the application inventory. The pretty large firms might have a dedicated system where they capture all the inventory details. Some might be managing it in Excel sheets, whereas there could even be some organizations who do struggle to find to kind of keep up at pace or come up with the entire inventory details. So how do we address their issues? This is where we bring in our partners, Cast, and we leverage their tool Cast Highlights, which is more like a sniffing tool, which goes into your application, which sits in your data center, identifies which all applications are there, what kind of infrastructure it is using, how it is connected to a database or interconnected, how the messaging is happening, and ultimately leads to the discovery of this entire application inventory. So you have the option, if you have all the details available with you, you can skip this step. In case you are struggling to get all the application inventory details, you can leverage the cast highlights, and post that the entire process remains the same.
Right. And
So
at the same time, you also have to make sure that the application is extendable, while when you are modernizing it, then whether it's upgradable, whether it's going to be efficient, whether additional enhancements and business related enhancements have to be added. Now, some people would like to add, say, for example, I'm just giving examples. They might want to add, say, valuation engine, possibly. They might want to add pricing engine. They might want to add risk engine. So these are some of the things which keep on you adding add to your existing application so that they give more and more value and outcome. And to make sure that where your existing application is, where the current maturity is, that's where Devesh has been talking about the cast tool, which brings out the entire end-to-end, not only about this application, but the overall blueprint of your entire ecosystem, about how the entire blueprint looks like, and how the applications are connected, how the even to the point that how one function is calling the other function, to that level of details we can get out from this report, and the entire architecture can be brought out, and you can see how we can make it even better and better. So I think that's what the assessment is all about.
yeah, no, thanks for adding that, Swati. While we move to the next slide, Hiren, you truly added those 2 points, which actually even I had missed out. We should always consider the in-flight initiatives which are going on, and even from a roadmap or vision perspective, each application, typically the business teams have a roadmap that what are the functional enhancements over a period of time that they want to incorporate in those applications. Definitely, those are two very critical points. But yeah, coming back to our assessment, and again, probably trying to capture how we are different in terms of our approach. It is not just the Excel or tool driven assessment that we are doing. Beyond that, there are value add benefits in terms of the value stream mapping based on the business value or the business benefits realization that an organization desires. And that is what truly differentiates us in terms of our assessment. It doesn't end here. So we don't just prescribe a app portfolio assessment, remediation plan, and a roadmap. Because as an organization, we are equally equipped and we have the experience in terms of implementing these changes. And we have all the architectural frameworks, blueprints, and the processes in place to implement these remediation roadmaps. And that is how we ensure that even during our assessment, whatever outcome we provide you in terms of realization or in terms of the time that it requires is something which is very realistic based on our experience. So we even help you with the setting up the remediation factory, how you should execute the entire change management, modernization from an implementation perspective. And beyond that, we can also help you with the support on these applications and hand it over back to the business. In terms of the analysis outcomes, some of the things which typically are captured as part of our report, whether it is, and again, the applications are classified across the various Rs, but those which are going to retire, how do we harvest their licenses? How do we decommission them? What is the kind of data archival policies that you should be probably looking at? In terms of cloud migration kind of approach, what is the kind of cloud infrastructure that you should be looking at? Or maybe from a re-platform perspective, what technology upgrades are very critical, or what vulnerabilities or security issues you might want to fix, or how you can consolidate all these applications together. Those are value adds or points which we definitely include as part of our assessment report. And even in terms of the re-engineering or refactoring, what are the cloud native capabilities that you can look at? Which of these applications, and particularly those which are the traditional applications, how you can completely rewrite or maybe adopt something like a microservices based architecture. Those are recommendations that we include as part of our report. And we just don't stop over here. There is a category of applications that you might want to retain. They are up to date in terms of technology trends, in terms of the underlying tech stack, but you still can derive greater benefits out of these. It could be by adopting DevOps. It could be by undertaking depth management or depth reduction, leveraging automation. It could be both from a IT ops perspective or a QA automation. And one of the most critical things is the people transformation. So what kind of technology skill sets or maybe training should be provided to the people who are going to support and upgrade these applications? That is something that we definitely focus upon. Plus the operating model. In terms of your entire support structure, can you look at some alternative operations model, leveraging maybe a pod kind of a structure, or maybe looking at something like a smart ops, which would provide you with additional benefits even on this application category, which is bucketed under the retail. Hiren,
Right. So
you.
I'll also talk about the deployments and the parallel developments which are a must these days, because the amount of the business requirements and the business backlog and the technical backlog is so huge that the business will, they would like to have multiple parallel developments going on. And this is possible, this is very much possible, and we can enable that for people also, that this can be done using DevOps properly. If you use DevOps properly, you will be able to have multiple deployments, seamless deployment, successful end to end, as well as you can have multiple, like around, maybe even if there are 300 400 developers also working together, you'll be able to handle that very well. So I think even the UX transformation which is required parallelly. So all these tasks, what I'm trying to say is all these tasks had to be done parallelly, can be done parallelly, and it is very important that the analysis part, which Devesh has been talking about, is very clearly done in the discovery phase properly, so that you will be able to categorize and bucket the backlogs in the relevant releases, and these releases can be planned, and every week you can have releases to make sure that your business outcomes are aligned with the application transformation.
Sure.
Sorry, go
Thanks,
ahead.
Hiren. Okay. So now probably changing gears and entering into the second part of this webinar. So what are the benefits that we can kind of expect out of this app portfolio rationalization exercise? uh, Majority of the applications, once we have properly classified, analyzed, they definitely the study this entire APR assessment helps us with immense benefits, whether it is in terms of reducing the maintenance costs, ensuring the data the application security, or ensuring that the maintenance efforts on the application is completely optimized. Ultimately, this ensures that all the applications are providing you with higher performance, they are scalable, and they are completely geared up to bring about the new changes. So introducing new changes, new functional enhancements at a lower turnaround time is what we typically want as benefits of this APR exercise, or rather, we have witnessed these kind of benefits being provided to the organizations. Yeah, and I was talking about benefits. So the light bulb moment for any organization, once they have undertaken the APR exercise, what we have seen as part of our previous experience, most of the organizations have seen a reduction in the cost and risk. They have witnessed elimination of redundant technologies. We have been able to help them free up resources which get better utilized for any kind of innovation projects, simplifying their technology management and improving the overall alignment of IT with the business. So it's ultimately all the CXOs. For them, I would say it helps them prevent any kind of application FOMO. I mean, am I missing out on something very significant from a technology or business trend that is there in the market? Has one of my competitor introduced something very new, which gives them a cutting edge benefit over what we offer? Because we don't just concentrate on the business vision, we also include any kind of outside in perspective in terms of what are the competitive benefits that these applications are providing to you. Then in terms of the budgets, ensuring that you have relevant budget available for innovation and providing you with financial gains. These are all the factors which we have seen most of the organizations getting benefited with. Kiran, you wanted to bring the business perspective into this?
Yeah, I completely agree to you. Many business people as well as the IT people are afraid to change anything which is running, right? So there's a long application freeze. Generally, you will see, and and that's dangerous because over a period of time, if if you don't change the application with the time, ultimately you're going to lose out. So yeah, I agree with you.
No, I completely agree. Hiren. You spelled it out. I was not telling it so explicitly, but I have seen many organizations where typically the leaders or the CXOs, they have this point of view that if it is running fine, why do we touch it? This kind of fear, ultimately, it becomes a huge backlog or a bottleneck from an application upgrade perspective.
Yeah.
Thanks for adding that. So, what is the secret sauce for ensuring success to this entire exercise, and what are those prerequisites and dependencies? Uh, we should look at this from at two stages. One is before we start this program. So, using the inputs during the program diagnostics. And the second is once we are executing the assessment, which is running the integrated diagnostics, what are the inputs required at that point in time? During the start, it is very critical to understand the importance and satisfaction of the enterprise applications. Are you completely satisfied? Are your functional and business goals getting achieved? And then not just limiting it to the organization's understanding, but taking the feedback from the end users who are customers for that application, whether it is the internal team or whether it is the external customers, taking their input. That is another key factor. Then understanding the strengths and weaknesses of these applications. What are the gaps that the team feels these are the gap areas across multiple of my applications, and understanding the kind of alignment in terms of the long term business vision or the long term business goals. How does this application, where this application fares in the current state in terms of realizing these business goals or your vision? While these are pretty critical, what these inputs helps us understand is which of these application, what is the kind of priority to be assigned. And during the run stage, we kind of take into account all these inputs which are there. So which target applications needs to be analyzed with a complete detail, what are the initial application rationalization results, and to make it much more comprehensive, what kind of business value focused assessment should be done as a assessment on each and every application. That is something that really adds to the value. Hiren, anything which you wanted to
Yeah,
add?
and the secret sauce is actually produced from the framework which we have created, which is called as a SUFFLE framework. SUFFLE also means success. so this framework actually is based on a design thinking methodology, wherein we um, understand the issues and the pain points from all the various stakeholders, be it the end customer, be it business, be it internal IT stakeholder. So we understand the overall picture, overall from a technology angle, from business angle, and then we and then it comes to the light bulb moment, which Devesh was talking about in the earlier slide. Yeah.
Thanks, Suren. I definitely thought you'd bring in the consulting angle on this. So most of the organizations I have seen, they wherever I have been kind of running these programs, they always have this question: what is the right moment? When should we undertake this kind of assessment? See, my thought is there is never a right time. Actually, this kind of a program should be a core process within every organization. Probably they should take it as an annual exercise to understand their application portfolio, what kind of benefits they desire, what modernization initiatives they should be embarking upon. But what truly happens is majority of the organizations, when there is a large merger or acquisition, or maybe they are coming out with a enterprise application that is getting rolled out, maybe a SAP or a HRMS or a Siebel system, that is when they get into these kind of exercises. But truly speaking, what I feel is any organization which wants to get greater visibility or control on these on your business applications, or you want to optimize on the maintenance delivery costs, you are not very sure about the remediation roadmap for a particular application or a set of applications, whether to retire them, refactor them, that is the time when you should look at application portfolio rationalization. And it is not just that you need to take it as a complete exercise for the entire organization. Uh, Maybe even from a cost perspective, you can either go for a lightweight assessment or a thorough analysis depending on your requirement. Uh, Ultimately, it is based on the customer's requirement, something which is tailor-made t-shirt sizes fitting the customer's requirement. Hiren, any points from your side?
Yeah, I completely agree. This cannot be a one-time thing. This has to be a constant and a continuous process which has to be adopted by the organization, and not only for one application, for the all overall applications. I know there is cost impact to it, but I know you have the answer for that as well, Devesh. So you want to talk about that?
Yeah, ultimately, whether it is a lightweight, and probably in the next slide, we are also giving some hints and cues in terms of depending on the kind of outcomes or benefits, again, how we can categorize this exercise or bucket it across different categories. Yeah. So depending on what kind of savings or maybe benefits that you want, if it is, say, something to the tune of 10 to 20% of the savings or the quick wins, you can go for that. Or in case you feel that you want to improve on the application efficiency and bring about a cost savings to the tune of somewhere around 20 to 30%, that kind of exercise can be done. Or else, if you are opting for something which is above 30%, something around, let's say, 35 to 50%, that kind of a range, that is where I feel that we'll have to go with a enterprise-wide assessment. And definitely one of the key things during this entire exercise would be who are those influencers who are needed, who are the stakeholders who need to be involved. And that is what we typically classify under the two broad areas: the internal stakeholders and the external stakeholders, because each of them comes with a different perspective with different sets of inputs. So from the internal stakeholders point of view, I mean, not just talking about the CIOs and CTOs, but it is very critical that the entire team is kind of part of this entire exercise. They should feel that they have been contributing and they are undertaking this exercise to ensure the adoption of all the changes that are going to come. So whether it is the business heads or the project team, the program and the project managers, or the sponsors, they are all very critical and they need to play a very critical role during this entire assessment. From an external stakeholder perspective, the external clients or partners, the end users, in case you have got subcontractors who are managing and maintaining these applications, that becomes very critical. What kind of government regulations that you need to adhere to, those regulatory inputs, if it can be provided internally or via some of the government representative, that needs to be there in place, plus the supplier and the wider community. So inputs definitely coming from all these different stakeholders forms a critical part of the entire assessment exercise. Yeah, Hiren, you might want to talk about this one, because I know this particular assessment exercise was something which was very close to you. Yeah.
Yeah. So so from our past experiences, what we have learned is that uh, so we have got many we have got a lot of performance say many a times we have a lot of issues which people talk about. It can be performance issue, it can be um, a user latency, like it's latency also is one of the issues. But ultimately what I'm trying to say is that it is not necessary that the problem which you see at the surface is actually the problem which is reality. The problem can be actually elsewhere. It can be on the workflows, it can be on the database side, it can be on the interfaces side or the third party system. The problem has to be identified and then resolved, and that's what we're talking about. That's why we need a holistic view about the entire overall picture. And this is some of the experience which Devesh, you want to talk about
Yeah,
that experience?
thanks,
Yeah.
Irene. And in fact, truly speaking, this general insurance exercise which we undertook, the performance concern which was there on the channel portal, we were brought into this exercise considering that how we can improve the performance for the channel portal. But ultimately, what we found out was it was not the channel portal which was the issue, it was the middle office and back office systems which were the root cause for this issue. And as part of our assessment outcome or the recommended roadmap, what we suggested to them is definitely there's something that you need to immediately do, which is bring about the application performance monitoring for your entire application stack. But then we also help them with a complete roadmap for modernizing their middle office and back office applications. And these back office systems were performing very critical functions, whether it was in terms of new business, endorsements, renewals, or claim servicing, and across all the different channels like agents, partners, and customers. But what they didn't do, they were constantly upgrading their front office applications, but all these middle office and back office applications were built on a monolithic architecture, which was not scalable. And that was the true cause of this issue. So ultimately, once we kind of addressed and found out the root cause over a period of time, they undertook this exercise, and the customer has been pretty happy with our assessment.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Devesh and Hiren. Let's open it for Q&A, and let's see if our moderators are receiving any questions from the audience. Anybody who wants to post a question, you can use the Q&A tab on the Teams. If you want to just raise your hand, you can use that feature as well. So let's give 30 more seconds to see if any Q&A is coming in. I think there are some coming in, looks like. So let me have the moderator publish it. Oh, there are some questions. Um, how is NSEIT's APR approach different from other consulting system integrators? Devish, you want to take it?
Yeah, let me take that up. So, let's see, we did try to address this as part of our presentation, but giving you a very focused response, we capitalize on the industry recognized leading process for APR. We ensure that whatever exercise we are doing, this is completely customized and tailor made as per the specific organizational requirement. The value stream mapping in terms of providing the business value, considering the business goals and the organization's vision is something that truly differentiates us. And then ensuring that the customized weightage, considering the long-term business goals and the business vision, is taken into account is something that makes us different from the other run-of-the-mill consulting or IT companies.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll
One more.
add to it.
With a
Sure.
step by
I'll
step.
quickly. I
Quite a few
I'll
Yeah.
add to
questions.
it. NSE, as initially we had also told that NSE, we are the subsidiary company of NSE. It is the world's largest derivative organization. And what we also want to tell you is that the amount of volumes which have increased over last few years is like 4 times, 5 times. So the speed at which we have to go in terms of infrastructure, in terms of the application modernization, in overall architectural, uh, revamp. That is exactly what we do day in and day out, and that is our bread and butter basically. So we understand this very well, and we have been able to consistently perform and being still on the top of differentiators and the consulting approach as well. Yeah, so that's
Yeah,
answer.
I completely agree,
We
Hiren.
can go to the next. Yeah, we can go
Sure.
to the next
Let's.
question.
There are quite a few questions, so maybe I'll try to take couple more. So, what cost savings can be expected by opting for organization-wide application portfolio rationalization?
Shikhar, as per our experience, what we have seen is typical industry trends based on, and this is something which is also mentioned in all the industry trend reports. Somewhere around 30 to 50% savings on the cost of operations is something that can be realized. And typically, considering that this accounts for nearly 15 to 20% of the annual budget, as a best case, I would say a minimum of 8 to 10% savings on the annual budget is something that an organization can factor in terms of the savings that APR can bring about.
Okay. Wonderful. Maybe one question we can take. Larger organizations that are, say, Oracle, SAP shops end up having several applications that they were required to purchase as part of a bouquet but never use it. How can an NSEIT help in reconciliation of such unused applications?
Again, as part of the APR assessment, one of the key factors is ensuring that the optimal use of licenses which are available. That is one of the core, I would say, core assessment that is done as part of our business mapping and the technology mapping. So in terms of the licenses which are available, whether it is getting utilized by one of the application from a business perspective, or it is getting underutilized, that again is one of the assessment outcomes that we provide as part of our report. So in case there are other applications which can utilize these kind of underlying tech stack, that is definitely a recommendation that we provide to our clients.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I think there are a few more questions, but with limited time now available, I'll try to close this, and some of the questions we can follow up with the audience. So thank you very much again for joining. I hope this was a good learning experience to get a perspective on how we are trying to approach the application portfolio rationalizations and how we can assist, contribute in your digital transformation journey. So that was what we wanted to kind of accomplish today. Uh, the key important element is that as the way we drive the digital transformation journey, security, compliance, and governance are the core pillars. And in terms of governance, whether it is cost or operational governance, are the core pillars out of which how we think about any of these initiatives and help the customers. The many took the approach of lift and shift in their digital transformation journey to the cloud, and then got stalled because of it was difficult to make the decisions, especially on the legacy applications and the importance of it. And today, as the years pass by, that improvements in technology, the other challenge that I hear from most of the customers is that how do you maintain those applications, because you are losing out on the skills to maintain those applications. And re-engineering every time is not either it's a cost prohibitive or timeline perspective or the risk perspective. But today, technologies like as Devesh talked about with microservices enablement, breaking the applications into microservices and deploying it into cloud so that you accomplish the scalability that is needed as your business is growing, are some of the key aspects. That is how we are differentiating ourselves and how we look at the legacy modernization of these applications. So that's the way we are approaching. That's what the capabilities and skills that we are building working with the hyperscalers, and that's what we are bringing to the customers, is how I would close this conversation today. Looking forward to stay in touch and continue this conversation. It's a big area today, and we are definitely looking forward to be your trusted advisor on this journey, and guide on the path on how we can continue to embrace the digital transformation. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining and taking your time today. And goodbye.